Nick, thanks so much for jumping on today. Excited for this conversation. We have some mutual friends who have put us in touch. Know you're working on and have done some really exciting things, but have some exciting things as well that we can get into. But as we do with every episode, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. My name's Nick Clark. I went to SMU from '03 to '05, my junior and senior year. Ever since, I've been in some form of either real estate or entrepreneurship in and around Dallas for the last 20 years.
Amazing. And I'm sure as we get into some of your concepts and things you've done, the audience will have spent time uh, in some of your venues. But walking through the kind of your origin story on the hilltop from Arkansas, from the DFW area, baseball player, what led you to being someone familiar with maybe SMU as, middle school or high school athlete that then led to you finding your way to the campus in '03?
Well, I think I was a little bit of an oddball in the fact that I had at least an idea of what I wanted to do when I was like 18, 19,
Okay.
20, kind of in that age range. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that for sure. And I knew real estate was very entrepreneurial. I didn't know much more than that. Right. And, um, and so I knew I wanted to go into some form of commercial real estate. And knowing that and being from the Dallas Metroplex, I liked the idea of staying in Dallas after college. And so,
Mhm.
at the time, and I think still today, SMU had a wonderful real estate finance program. It was a program heavily rooted with both professionals and projects in the Dallas real estate community, and so all
And
of that helped to to make everything make sense. And then, like you alluded to, I went and played junior college baseball my first 2 years of college, and SMU had at that time, I think they still have now, a transfer scholarship that was
mm,
automatic half off of tuition if you had a 3.7 or higher GPA.
oh, wow.
And I thought, hey, I think I'm just smart enough to be able to go achieve that at my JUCO. And so I was like, man, I'm just going to go talk to all my teachers and tell them my goal is to get to SMU. I need to get this 3.7 GPA to be able to get there. Help me out. And so I was able to do that, get the transfer scholarship. And it really just, for me, my family at that time, helped the whole thing make a whole lot of
Totally.
sense.
Totally. So you talk on, you knew at a kind of that 18 and up age, you wanted to be an entrepreneur. You're familiar with SMU and kind of the network and real estate. What is it about yourself that you kind of knew, or maybe you didn't know about life as an entrepreneur that you thought was a good fit or kind of excited you as a career path?
I think I just like having agency over my own career and the path I was going to take. I think I'm someone who heavily values freedom, liberty within my own life,
Uh-huh.
and there's probably a lot of decisions I've made that keep that as a value. And so entrepreneurship is just simply a part of that, and it's been wonderful when it comes to the freedom that it generates in life. And of course, there's a lot of stress that it adds
Oh,
as well, to where, being a W-2, 8 to 5 employee, I'd probably look and feel a little younger. Uh,
yeah,
but I wouldn't have the agency that I have now over my life. And I enjoy being able to leave the office anytime I want, go to my kids' soccer practice,
absolutely.
do whatever needs to be done. And so,
And and in a world like today, I think there's more entrepreneurs or finding that way to balance the work and career, knowing the the thoughts you had as an 18-year-old, knowing you wanted the agency, the entrepreneur spirit, for that same the new generation coming up now, 17, 18, 19, they're at SMU. They know they wanna build their own career. They want that, autonomy and agency. How would you have approached school any differently, or advice for those coming in now to help work backwards into where you are today from a school perspective or what you study or, internships and things like that?
um, well, going to approaching school differently. Let's focus on that just for a second.
Mhm.
I my approach to school was very much focused on getting the grades and doing the work Let's just put it that way. And I felt
Deep.
like getting the grades and doing the work was going to open up lots of doors for me as I was coming out of school. I think that can work for some, depending on kind of what your network looks like, maybe your family's network looks like, how rooted
Mhm.
are you guys already in Dallas? I was a Mesquite kid, which is close to Dallas, but let's be very clear, that's not Dallas, right? And so I didn't have a Dallas network. And if I could go back and tell like 20-year-old Nick something, it'd be like, hey, man, like equally focus on building your network while you're working on building your resume. They're kind of the same thing. And
Right.
you see a lot of other kids that almost entirely focused on the network and didn't focus on the grades. And so I think
Right.
that there's a there's a balance there, and I was a bit out of balance on my approach.
I think that's fair. I think a lot of you're programmed to get to do the school work, and that's the correlating effect that leads to the in job. I think on the networking piece, you hear so many people say network, work on the network, do this network. Like, what does that look like when you're a 19, 20-year old, 22-year-old in college, right? These are your peers, these are your friends. How do you have the foresight to think, okay, is it truly just like stay in touch with them? Just know what your friends do and carry that on for the next 20 years? Or what does that truly mean to like lean into the network piece while in college? I think that's a hard thing to kind of
Well, look, I
understand in the
found
moment.
that like, it's not just your college network. The college network is very important because the 20-year-old kid at SMU becomes a 40-year-old, you know,
Executive. Yeah.
leader within the community within what feels like a blink of the eye, right?
Right.
But even your like whatever it might be, your church network, your university network, I think the internships that you can go get while you're in college are just as important as your grades because they're allowing you to get right into a professional network
Mhm.
very quickly and to go leverage that as well. And so I think all of that, even the internship. I remember we had our real estate finance teacher is a guy named Brueggemann at the time. I think he just retired. I don't think he's there anymore. But um, man, he was like leaning hard on me, like, dude, you got to get an internship. You got to get going between your junior and senior year. And I just kept like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But he's right. Like, I mean, those things are insanely important.
Right. So with you, did you end up getting the internship and how'd you knew real estate, entrepreneurship, you
Yeah,
wanted to kind of create some of that space. Maybe you didn't know what it was yet. How did you find your first job or kind of
yeah.
work your way into discovering the next piece of commercial real estate to where you could find an idea?
Yeah, being that I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I felt like there was, especially even the professors at SMU, that kind of gave you two trains of thought based on what industry you were going into. It's like, okay, if you're going into real estate, you can either go work at one of the big firms, a CBRE, a Cushman, a JLL,
Mhm.
go get that experience, and then you could potentially leverage that into maybe a more principal led firm somewhere else,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Or you can go the small firm route first, become kind of a jack of all trades, a person that can wear a lot of different hats, and then go figure out what you want to go do with that. And I chose the small firm route. Actually, went to work for a company called Holt Lunsford Commercial right out of school. At the time, they were mainly an industrial real estate shop, and I
Mhm.
was an office leasing guy, and so I realized pretty quickly, I was like, "Wait a minute, I need to be at more of a, at a company that is truly leasing, managing, owning office if I want to be an office leasing guy."
Right.
And so I quickly made a change over to a group called Pillar Commercial, and Pillar was led and founded by, uh, a younger man, I think he was late 30s at the time, his name's Manny Ybarra,
Wow.
and Manny was just a machine. He was like, probably one of the best sales people I've ever met. He was that guy that was like, man, if it's a huge meeting, he's going to bring some people along so that they can learn. If
Mhm.
it's a tiny meeting that I had set up, he was gonna come with me so he could teach. And I was like, "Man, that's the type of mentor I'm looking for." And it was the
Right.
size company where, man, if we needed to get a lease amendment done, we were probably drafting it ourselves as opposed to calling an attorney. If we
Mhm.
get a space plan done, we were jumping into CAD or even just Microsoft Paint and, moving walls and making it
Right.
happen. It was just a
Right.
very do what it takes entrepreneurial company. And probably most importantly, when I walked through that office the first few times I was meeting with Manny, I could tell that everybody was having fun. And that's always been a really important thing to me. Culture, I feel like, is something I've become known by a little bit.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, even having fun, it's pretty simple. I'm like, man, if
Right.
we're gonna spend 40, 50 hours a week away from our families, away from our friends at this thing we call the office, let's have a good time doing it. And so,
Excellent.
uh, Pillar was kind of the perfect place to go spend 4 or 5 years, camp out, learn from somebody that I really respected and get to know the business pretty well.
And was it by choice that you selected Office, which I think ultimately led to Common Desk? Was that tell us a little bit of that story and how what Office was it just that's where the opening was? Was that an area that you wanted to learn a little bit more about? And what did you learn in those 5 years post school that you decided, I have an idea for, a
Yeah.
co-working Common Desk concept?
Well, I've always loved design, and, I felt like at that time, at least, the decisions felt like based on everybody I was talking to, it's like you could go do industrial brokerage
Mhm.
or you can do office. I was like, "Man, industrial kinda fits my Mesquite background, but
Yeah,
there's not much to it," It's
yeah,
it's a big tin box,
right.
and, that just didn't interest me as much, whereas um, Office felt a little sexier, right?
Yeah.
That didn't age well. I wouldn't tell a kid coming out
Yeah,
of you now,
right,
like, "You're
right.
out of Office," but this was '05, this was 20 years
Yeah,
ago.
who knew?
So yes, in a way, I chose Office. I think in a way it kinda chose me. It was just kind of more of, you go talk to a bunch of people. I chose a mentor,
Mm,
honestly, more than I chose a sector. Like
awesome.
I felt like both Holt that's why I chose Holt in the very beginning. He felt like somebody I could learn from. Manny became ultimately an incredible mentor in my 20s. So I chose more of a mentor than a sector, is how I would put it.
Love it. And then in the tell us the story of Common Desk. How did that come about, and kind of that those early days of building that concept?
Yeah, so I was the kid in my 20s where I was, like, leaving work and going home and working on a bunch of different business plans,
Right.
the first
Okay.
90
Yeah, yeah,
90
yeah.
the first 99 didn't ever
Yeah.
didn't ever even
Okay.
pan out, I
So
never
the
moved.
entrepreneur spirit never left as you were working.
Yes,
What
yes,
about this idea? What about
I
this
was
idea?
always there, and I was always in such a hurry as well. I was like, "Man, I felt like I was wasting my time if I didn't get something started as soon as possible."
Right. Right.
Um, but it really the idea for Common Desk and,
Were all the not to stop you. Were all those ideas real estate related that you were
they were not. They were
captaining
not. A
out?
lot
Okay.
of them
You
were more operating,
okay.
intensive ideas, but, um, with Common Desk, the origin of that was really it started around the recession, and so '08, '09 hits, and really the demand side of Office started to change right now.
Mhm.
Man, mind you, this is the same time where, like, '08, the iPhone comes out,
Right.
right? We feel like now Wi-Fi has just been prevalent our entire lives. It
Yeah.
is not, like, it
Right.
was like
Right.
'08, '09, all of a sudden people are working off their laptops in a
Yeah.
Starbucks, things are
Right.
changing,
Yeah.
and, this happens every time there's a bit of a financial reset, which is what '09 really was for us, that it births a lot of new companies, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people lose their jobs and decide, hey, instead of finding another one, I'm going to go start something. And so, in some ways, it's a nice cleansing for the economy. And you could feel that happening as an office leasing person, right? All of a sudden, young guys were coming into our office building on tours, and the best ones were ones that were unbrokered because they weren't knowledgeable about how the process would work. And they would come in like backpacks on, bright
Yeah.
eyed, bushy tailed, be like, okay, we've got a great idea. It's got some traction. We just raised our first $1 million and we
Yeah.
need a space. And you could tell that they thought they were going to transact in like a few days or a few weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, guys, this is great. I'm
Yeah.
happy for you. This is not how this works. Like, you're going to have to go hire an attorney. We've got a 40-page lease we're going to drop in your lap. Uh,
Mhm.
show you shell space today, and you're going to need a designer and a contractor, and we're going to have to build this thing out together. That's going to take
Right.
7 months all day. So you're probably looking at, hey,
Yeah.
a 9-month period here. And, the kicker to it all, you got to sign a 3 to 7 year lease,
Like, yeah.
and even at that point, um, with the internet becoming so much more prevalent and people having all these additional tools at their disposal, business started moving so much faster,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And because business was moving faster, what happens? Companies, uh, uh, you know, tighten the bell curve of getting to success or failure,
Right,
right? So, like all of a sudden, like 7 year lease sounds crazy, you
right,
know? You're like,
right.
dude,
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna sell up my company by
if
then,
I'm still
see.
doing this in 7 years, what am I
Right,
doing with my life?
right,
Or,
right.
it's like, we have no clue what we're gonna be like in 7
Yeah,
years. 4
right,
employees right now, we might have 400 by then.
right.
Um, and so it was just a realization that this thing was pretty broken, you know?
Mm,
And I remember going home one day and I wrote 3 words in my little binder, and one was fast, one was flexible, and one was fun. So it's just fast, flexible, and fun. And I was like, man, I believe this transaction time needs to go from like 9 months to 9 minutes. So
yeah,
those are fast. It needs to go from like 5-year lease terms to month membership
right.
agreements. And so that
Yeah,
was the flexible. And I was like, dude, it needs to be a lot more fun. Yeah, I felt like the bar was set pretty low when it came to, let's just call it, office building culture.
right.
Uh, it sucked. Like nobody
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to be in an office building. It was boring. It almost kind of gave you that weird feeling in your stomach when you walk in because you're like,
right.
oh gosh, Monday
Gotta
morning,
go here again.
I'm
Right.
here. You almost felt like you've done something wrong in your life because you have this obligation to go to this place. And so
It's
I wanted
severance.
a good time.
It's,
And
so was there any co-working around at that time? Was it kind of a not what it was at the time, or what
there
was your
was
research after you kinda
there
wrote
was
down those 3
not
letters?
There was
Or
not, but as I started kind of really, like, took it from the 3 words and started developing a concept out of it, I realized that, there was a brand I had found in San Francisco. I think it was called Citizen Space at the time, and then there was another brand, out of Chicago. What was that one called? Oh, man, The Coop. The Coop. It was
okay.
actually, now a good buddy of mine that ran that one, but yeah, I'd found those 2 websites. I was like, "Oh, shoot, this thing kind of exists already, and it's called coworking."
Mhm.
And at that point, once I realized that, there was like a meetup happening in Austin. So this would have been March of 2012. There's a meetup.
Wow.
It was like the global co-working meetup, for any
Right.
entrepreneurs or, at that point, business owners of co-working spaces could all get down to Austin and get together. And so I was like, man, I'll go to this meetup,
Yeah.
um, and that's when I realized, like, this is at the very beginning stages of being kind of this whole new emerging industry. And I would say from like March of 2012 on is when I kind of went all in on
Yeah.
the concept.
And so what did going all in look like? Was it, do I do this in an office and take a floor? Do I need to get my own building? Do I need to poll the members and see if there's critical mass to do this? What were those first kind of
Well,
steps to get off the ground?
keep in mind, I thought the office buildings were not great. So
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be an office building. I guess step one is I quit my job as an office leasing guy.
Yeah.
Um, and so I felt like I needed to remove the safety net and just spend all my time working on this. At that time, I was dating my now wife, and she lived in Deep Ellum.
Okay.
Okay. And she was like, I think you need to take a look at Deep Ellum based on just all these things you're saying and how you
Okay.
want the early days, the Common Desk brand was really built for like the freelancers, the entrepreneurs, almost like a little bit counterculture, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, man, Deep Elm is just the perfect neighborhood for this. I was like, "Honey, I don't know if anybody really wants to office in Deep
Right.
Ellum." I was like, "But I'll take a look." And, I met a now friend, a guy named John Hetzel, down there for a tour, and he tours me, at this site on Commerce, and it's like the 2900 block of Commerce, and, it's way too big. It was like 20,000 square feet. I was
Right.
looking 4,000 square feet. It had like this really
Yeah.
cool mezzanine, and you could tell it had this like this build out that we could use like 90% of it. And I was like, John, this is really great. I think it'd be a great fit, but it's just way too big. And he's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, I can't lease this space to save my life. So he's like, you can just throw up a wall wherever you want to demise this space.
Okay.
And whatever's inside the wall, you'll pay rent on, and whatever's outside of the wall, if you ever get to expand into it, call it icing on the cake. You know,
Yep.
you're really never paying for it. And it kind of became that deal where it's like, I can't walk away from that deal.
Right.
So that was location one. We signed the lease. We got to work. We
Was
wha-
that in 2013?
that was in 2012. So this would have been
2012.
probably
Okay.
like Mayish of 2012. We
Amazing.
brought in a contractor that only built bars and restaurants and never sniffed office
Yep.
before, and
Yep.
basically told him we wanted to look like a fun dive bar, so to speak. And if you walk in, that build out is still there today. So if you walk in,
Oh my
people
gosh,
still just
I've been in that place
oh,
a bunch of
nice.
times. It is so cool.
Thank you, man. Thank
From
you.
the food setup to the booths to the exposed, like, stairs and the upstairs, it's so cool. I can
It was
see
a
why
lot of fun. It was a
you'd
lot of fun.
walk in and
I
be
took
like,
pride every time somebody would walk in off Commerce Street and go, "What is this? Is this a bar?" Like,
for
no,
sure.
but, like, we got
Yeah,
the build out right and the fact that you think it is. So,
yeah.
um,
So you hit the fun piece, you found this amazing, space. Did Deep Ellum work? Was your wife correct? Was that one of the
she was
first of many
absolutely
times that
correct.
she did?
I think we were all she was very correct. I think it worked for maybe a few additional reasons that we weren't contemplating, and that was really
Okay.
proximity to East Dallas, if that makes sense. You know, and so was Deep Elm a really cool neighborhood? Yes. Did we try to go copy the cool neighborhood story and go do it in Oak Cliff? We did. Did that work? Not really, because there wasn't this like yeah, this graphic that was next door that was a kind of a deep well of people that
Professionals,
we could
yeah.
kind of pull from.
So you open your doors. Did you know the name was gonna be Common Desk from the beginning?
The original name was Nest Coworking,
Okay.
which is an awful name, an awful and, we were rocking it, and I feel like I woke up in the middle of the night one night and realized, "This sucks, we've got to change it," and, it was my brother-in-law that came up with Common Desk. We were sitting
Okay.
in an ice cream parlor, and I think I blurted out "Desk Commons," and he was like, "No, Common Desk," and as soon as he said it, we're like, "Yes, that's it."
Correct.
Um,
Okay.
we wanted something that didn't anchor us too heavily to coworking. We didn't want coworking in the name, and then I've always loved like two basic words that come together to be something more, and so it perfectly fit all of that.
And so what was the model then, and is it still the case? Was it you can buy an open workspace, you can have an office that would pre-make for you? Is it a membership model? How did you meet the fast, flexible part of
Yeah.
the three words that you're building?
Well, sadly, I think we had it the most right in the very beginning because it was very simple. It was all month to month. There was no term. So everything
Mhm.
was month to month. We had a few private offices, which you could lease out on a month to month basis. And then everything else was a $200 a month membership. And for $200 a month, you got full access 24/7 to the facility. You got free coffee, free
Mhm.
Wi-Fi, and free usage of our conference room facilities. And so it was just $200 a month. It was
Wow.
very,
Yeah.
very simple, right? Um, we had a nights and weekends membership that was $100 a month, but that was, I think, the only deviation from it. So it was
Yeah.
in the very beginning, it was a very simple business.
And was that an overnight success? Did people understand the model? Were you kind of right in thinking, hey, it's shifting. People don't need this office space. There's a lot of independent workers now that they have access to Wi-Fi and computers. Remote, maybe not the way we think of it now, but people can kind of sit in a co-working space. Or did it take some marketing and sales efforts to get to kind of that critical mass?
Well, we were the only act in town, so that helped. There was very
Always
limited
good.
supply, and there was maybe a bit more demand than we thought there would be. Saying that we were an overnight success is probably not the right way to put it, but it was cash flowing immediately, which was
Hmm.
awesome. A lot of that had to do with I had Deep Ellum rental rates. Deep Ellum 2012 rental rates were very good.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not a whole lot of people wanted to be down there,
Right.
but yeah, I would say some things that surprised me from the early days is we had built the brand, as I mentioned earlier, to really be for, call it the freelancer and kind of the gig economy, which was not near as big as it is now today, right?
Mm.
But pretty immediately, we were attracting, more of your maybe venture-backed, larger companies. Like
Mhm.
Uber had a large presence with us early on. Google had a large presence with us early on. And that helped me realize, like, wait a minute, maybe this like 4,000 square foot footprint is, small thinking based on how this, like, the type of companies that are wanting to access this space.
Mm.
What is holding us back from signing a deal with a company that needs to place 200 employees inside
Mm.
the working space? And so, um, pretty immediately, we started to expand our footprint to accommodate the demand, just because the demand was coming from companies of all sizes.
Yeah, and I know we wanna spend time talking about the newest endeavor you have, but kind of put a bow on where Common Desk went. You found this first location in Deep Ellum, you learned some things, it's a great testing ground because you said that some of the things were favorable from the terms of and having that space. How many locations did you guys get to? What was kind of the end model? And then what allowed you then to maybe decide that you're moving on from Common Desk? I think, we know of that, but able you to kind of now put a bow on it and start something new.
Yeah, so we grew to 26 locations nationwide. We really became known for three different things. One, we were an industry leader when it comes to our design of the spaces, which helped us stand out a good bit. I would say that we called it Southern hospitality. The Southern hospitality that we were able to scale throughout all 26 locations kind of helped us to stand out. And then we were first to market on these landlord asset light partnership agreements, and really the first ones to institutionalize that with these big landlords like MetLife, UBS,
Okay.
USAA, and become like a portfolio wide partner for them. And we were just like really catching our momentum with all of that when we sold the company to WeWork.
And was that kind of just where WeWork was at the time? They had so much capital, they were going out acquiring everyone who had a co-working
No,
footprint?
I think I could have made more money if I sold to WeWork 2 years earlier.
Okay, okay,
We signed the term sheet with WeWork in 2021.
okay.
And uh, uh, mind you, at that time, we needed to sell to WeWork.
Mhm.
We were a balance sheet super light business, right? I
Yep,
just told you that basically all of our locations were partnerships with landlords. They owned all
yep,
the assets in the balance
yep,
sheet. We were like a hotel management company coming in
right,
and applying the brand and the brand standards and the operations
yep,
to the space. Um, and in all of that was working beautifully until COVID hit, right?
yeah,
And COVID hit, and that March, 90+% of our revenue walked out the door overnight, and it
mhm,
just wrecked our tiny balance sheet.
wow,
And we thought we had a very healthy operating reserve in place. We did not. Thankfully, the PPP EIDL loans, like, helped to get us through, but
mhm,
we were hobbling into 2021.
right,
And, I take a lot of the blame for that because over the years, over that 10-year period, we just continued to complicate our own business. And we're a
um,
little bit of a victim of our own success with that. It's like we brought design in-house, we brought real estate in-house. Now we're designing spec suites and furnishing spec suites for landlords. We're doing all of these different things. Like the
yeah,
Common Desk of 2022 was like more of a 40,000 square foot footprint and would have these big team suites, these team offices. If you got on our website, we had 20 different products. It was just,
right, right,
there's too much going on, and the corporate side of the company had gotten too heavy, especially to be able to withstand and go through a blow like
and
COVID,
COVID, yeah,
handed us. And so we were in a very infamous meeting at this point with my executive leadership team in August of 2021. People are like crying, okay? Like, because
Mhm.
we're getting to the point where it was like, man, we're running out of money and we're gonna have a hard time making payroll here in like 30, 45 days if we don't do something drastic. And it was in that meeting we decided we need to go find a bigger partner with a big balance sheet
Yeah.
um, to to continue on. Whether that's like going out and raising a significant amount of equity. We'd never raised equity, so
Right.
going out and raising significant amount of equity, or partnering up with one of the bigger brands. And I was good friends with the then head of real estate at WeWork, and WeWork had just kind of ousted the now infamous CEO
Mhm.
Adam Newman and brought in
Mhm.
a real estate CEO, a guy named Sandeep, and they were about to go public via SPAC, and you could tell they were desperate for kind of a new growth story that didn't involve deploying tons and tons of equity.
Right.
And so and because of Common Desk asset light management structure, we could go to 20 locations and deploy zero equity. And so that was one of the main reasons why they were instantly interested in meeting with us. And I had a probably the most important Zoom call in my life. It was like a Wednesday at 7 a.m. I'm jumping on with the CEO of WeWork, and I need him. I
Right.
need him to either heavily invest or buy
Yeah.
common.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then an hour later, we're jumping off the call, and he's like, "Man, send over the term sheet." And
Awesome.
so we were able to agree to terms pretty quickly from there. Deal worked out really well, and
Mhm.
it was a 6-month due diligence period that I don't care to relive. That was
Right.
excruciating, but
I'm sure.
I learned a lot. And
I'm sure.
by uh, by January of 2022, we had closed that transaction, and WeWork had bought Common Desk.
And were you required to stay on for a certain period of time, or was Nick's entrepreneurial mind already thinking about what do I do next?
Well, sadly, both, which I wish I could go back and tell myself, "Hey, settle down." But,
Right.
yes, I was required to stay on for 2 years,
Okay.
and that was a tough period for me.
I'm sure.
I've never actually been a real employee, because I was in my brokerage days, it's like, man, you eat what you
Right.
kill, and,
Right.
so it was the first time I was inside of this, like, large public corporation. I learned a lot during those 2 years that we would need to have a whole whole 'nother podcast
I'm
on,
sure.
so we won't
I'm
go into
sure.
all of that, but I was very
Even the psychology of being an employee of your own company you created essentially has gotta be a unique, place to sit, right?
it was odd. It was odd having other people tell me what I needed to do with Common Desk. That was an odd deal, but we got through it. I was certainly eager, sadly, maybe, to leave. Um, as an entrepreneur, if you have a decent amount of success, you kind of accidentally build your own W-2 role anyways.
Mm,
And so I think the thing that I was scared to admit maybe 9 or 10 years into that business is even pre-sale, while I was still absolutely running it, I think I was starting to get tired of working on the same thing over and over.
uh-huh,
It's like
uh-huh,
it didn't feel as entrepreneurial anymore, and in some ways, I was becoming toxic within my own organization because I was always trying to tinker and change things and do something new.
right,
Mm, the business did kind of technically need just like a professional CEO to say,
right,
"Hey, we're gonna put this on the shelf and we're gonna go do 100 of them, and we're ready
that's
to
where
go."
you're going, right,
And I
yeah,
never really wanted that.
yeah, you
And
wanted
s
to create,
I wanna create.
yeah,
And so,
yeah.
lesson learned on that front.
So you survived the 2 years with WeWork. What, tell us about the idea now. Where do you get to
Yeah.
put your interest? Where do you get to create? And, what does the future hold for you guys?
Well, around that kind of last month timeline at WeWork, I had an employee at Common Desk. He was our head of real estate for like 7 years, a guy named Dawson Williams.
Mhm.
And he was just that guy. He's like a brother from another mother. By the way, he's an SMU guy as well, and so he'd be a fun
Perfect.
follow-up to get a different
Yeah.
perspective at some point. But, he gets a lot of credit for kind of maneuvering Common Desk into the position to kind of go become this like partner to institutional grade landlords. And so,
Mhm.
but more than that, I just really had
Yeah.
fun with it. He
Yeah.
just he made it fun. It was a good time, and so we knew that if we got to roll something back, we wanted to partner together on what was next.
Uh-huh.
And I think it bothered me a little bit of, like, working on one thing for 10, 11 years, and I need to be careful how I put this 'cause it worked out pretty well, but working on one thing for 10 or 11 years and selling it and then having to completely start over. So we kind of wanted to, like, think through, how do we set up an organization that
Mm.
gets to have, like, some of these almost more rolling pops, as opposed to we work on one thing for a decade or longer in our lives, and then we have to kind of
Poof,
reinvent
it's
the
gone,
wheel.
yeah. Yeah.
So we kinda started there. Common Desk was never actually in the real estate. We didn't own any of the real estate that we
Uh-huh.
operated, and we knew we wanted to be in the dirt moving forward. And we knew that we love private club businesses. I mean, Common
Mhm.
Desk is basically a private work club. You've got recurring revenue.
Yeah.
You've got, it's membership based, and so your customer is coming in on a, you know, 2 times a week, 3 times a week. They're coming in often, and so you get to know the customer, you get to know their spouse, their dog, their kids, and there's something magical about that. You get to create a real community.
Yeah.
Even like a hotel or maybe your favorite restaurant. I mean, what you go to your favorite restaurant, what, once a month maybe,
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
sometimes they might know you, but most of the time they probably don't. But so we love those aspects of the business, and he has a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old boy. I have a 9-year-old boy and a 10-month-old daughter, and we're just in it right now as
Yeah.
parents, and so we left WeWork and we just started our discovery phase of just we went out and started touring everything,
Mhm.
especially as it pertained to like private clubs. Like we went
Right.
and saw all the country clubs,
Right.
the social clubs, the tennis and racket clubs, the hunting and fishing clubs. We went to London last year for spring break and toured all of the clubs out there. And we
Cool.
slowly started developing this thesis of like, man, like one, there's a limited amount of country club memberships in the city of Dallas. There's about 8,000 to be exact. Um, and we know there's pent up demand because every single one of these has a wait list. They're charging absurd amounts for initiation fees and dues these days. But then when we looked at the product, we're like, okay, they all anchor so heavily around golf and tennis. They are primarily built for dad first, and then mom's got
Right.
stuff. The mom's
Yeah,
got some stuff
very
to do.
outdated.
And then the kids are like, they're like kind of put up with, they're like, we got the pool, for the summer season. But other than
Yeah.
that, I don't know, maybe find a babysitter. Um, and so we started catching some kind of traction with an idea when we decided, hey man, what if we flip that whole thing upside down and we developed essentially a private club that was for kids first and then really mom second. And then
Mhm.
as two dads, we're like, dude, if our kids and spouses are happy, stick us in a corner, give us a Miller
Yeah.
Lite. We're gonna be happy. We're pretty easy.
Totally.
Um,
Give us one TV.
and so while we were kind of call it wireframing that idea, a building owner had called us back. It was on a building that we had called on during our common desk days, and it was this kind of
Mm.
neighborhood esque office building in Lake Highlands, which is East Dallas
Yeah.
and probably East Dallas's most family friendly area. Um, And this building just ended up becoming the perfect footprint for the idea. Just to kind of make this long story short, I mean, we closed on this building in January of this year, so January of 2025.
Amazing.
Um, and it's a 50,000 square foot 3-story building on 4 acres of land. So it affords us the space where we can do one full floor of like indoor space. So 15,000 square feet of club space for children, which is going to be awesome. We're going to have like 2 big fields, a sport court, a child watch area, a
Yeah.
STEM play area. And then for the adults, we've got a full floor that's a adult social club. So 15,000 square feet, that'll be a social club. Think park house, but not as bougie. Still very nice, but it'll have a different feel to it. But it's of that size. And then the first floor, we're fading this idea of like a faux fine dining. You can come in with your baseball cap on backwards. We're installing an ice house. um, because we feel like, man, everybody loves ice houses. So,
Totally.
we've got an ice house concept that we're putting in. It's got a big like living room and indoor play area. There's a mother's lounge on the first floor if mothers want to breastfeed, breast pump, take a nap, just make an excuse to
Amazing.
move the family and go get away. It's all there for her.
Totally.
And then there's a nursery on one as well, and then
Wow.
outdoors would be really cool. It was an oversized lot, so we've got like an acre of space that we're turning into green space. You've got a large resort style pool, it's kind of sectioned off where you've got like big kids section, little kids section, toddler section, mom and dad area. It's all kind of all there for everybody. You've got a beer garden patio and like a big
Oh my gosh.
open green space for the kids just to roam and run. It's all gated in. It'll be heavily secured. Every
Incredible.
member is highly vetted. You have to be a family to get in. We're not taking
Yeah.
no single memberships.
Oh, that's great.
And so yeah, so it's gone.
It's
It,
exciting.
I can't say it's been easy. It's been one of the hardest things we've ever worked
I'm
on, but it's
sure.
been a lot of fun. It's fun to work on a project that is of the heart and also can make a little money, you know?
Totally, totally. I think that's the where the spot you wanna be is so you mentioned close in January, you've kind of got the design piece. Can the audience listening, can they start applying, touring? When should they think of a timeline for 'cause as we talked about before, this member base is the client, that we're it's all families 50 and under with young kids that, need places like this to go to. So where can they learn more and what kind of timeline should they be thinking of?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, our new website comes out middle of October, and we're having a club showcase at an East Dallas pool October 25th.
Okay.
On that day, our membership goes live again on the website, and
Okay.
it's capped. It'll be running for the month of November. We already have over 500 families on the wait list. So I would say if there's interest, please find our website online and go fill out that application. The name of the club is Stonethrow. And so stonethrowclub.com is where you'll be able to find us.
Amazing. This is so exciting. I can't wait to see it come to life and make sure our SMU alumni base knows that it's a resource to them and their families. And I'm as the concept expands, no doubt that you and Dawson can make that a reality. So, Nick, thank you so much for again your transparency, sharing your story. I think that's so valuable to the next generation to hear what it takes to be an entrepreneur, to be a business owner, and then sharing the vision of what you have in the future. So, again, thank you for your time.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me on the show.
Talk to you soon.
All right. See you.
This episode of SMU Stories is made possible by our incredible sponsors, Security National Bank, Hilltop Property Tax, SMU Cox School of Business, Mignon Steakhouse, and Sound of a Rose podcast.